Hi there, I'm Victoria Pete, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about chain piecing. Chain piecing is something that we use in patchwork and quilting, and it is great for speeding up your sewing, and it is also great for saving a bit of thread. Ordinarily, when you are sewing two pieces of fabric together, you would run your two pieces through the machine, and you would either snip your threads using your little scissor function on your machine, or you might use your thread cutter at the side, or you might use a pair of scissors. But every time you do that process, it takes a little bit of time, and it takes a proportion of thread. And whilst that one individual action may not seem like very much, when you've done that several times over, if you're making something really large, then it can really mount up and it can make a big difference. So this is all about conserving thread, and it's all about making processes a bit quicker. So what I've got for you today is, I'll just show you here with the camera. I have got some pieces laid out. Here we go. So this is effectively what you might do is you might have your your top ready to piece. So I've got here some 5-inch squares, and I've got 4x3 that I'm looking to piece. So what I'll do is I'll lay them all out and make sure that they're in a layout that I like. So this is for something when you're doing a non-scrappy version, non-random. This is when you're quite planned and organised. So what I'll do is I will have a look at my layout, make sure I'm happy with that. And we've got here 3 different rows, and we've got the different columns. And the way I'm going to sew it together is I'm going to sew these 2 pieces together, and at the same time I'm going to chain piece from the next row and from the 3rd row. So I'm going to place them right sides together. I'm going to keep them all in place. Right sides together, this is row 2, and then row number 3. And I'm going to stack these up, so we're going to get the row 1 pair. Going to place those on top of row 2 and on top of row 3, and then I'm going to take those over to my machine, and I'm going to try and show you how I would chain piece these together. So I've got those sitting right sides together, and I'm going to run them through the machine under here. I've got here a 1/4 inch foot is on my machine. You can see the little rudder on the side. I also have a straight stitch plate on my machine. If you have a straight stitch plate on your machine, they're absolutely fabulous. They help avoid that little nest that you can get on the underside sometimes. So what I'll do is I'll just pop this underneath, and I'm going to sew. I'm sewing with a 1/4 inch. I'm going to sew along that one side. When I get to near the end, I'm going to go just so that I'm sort of 1 or 2 stitches from the end of these 2 pieces that I'm trying to sew together. I'll then take my next 2 pairs as fabric, and I'll just place those underneath the foot so they can go quite up close. You can see there's only a couple of millimeters between those, just enough so that let me lift the presser foot. You can just see here, this is where the feed dogs will start to pick up the next set of squares. So I'll pop that back down, and it will just suck those underneath the foot and sew those together. And you can see they're joined together, and at the back here the 2 pieces are still together. Or the 2 pairs are still together. Do the same thing. I'm going to feed that underneath the presser foot, keep those right sides together, and sew along to the end. And this is where you can cut. So we'll cut those off, and we'll bring those back over to the other squares, and I'll lay them out so you can see. So those are all 3 pairs are still together, and we'll open them out. Okay, so they're still joined. I would leave those still attached, and I would repeat that same process with the next set of pairs. So again, in row 1, right sides together, row 2, right sides together, and then row 3, right sides together, and then I'd stack them up so that you've got 1 on the top, then 2, then 3. I'm going to run those through the machine again, and I'll bring the camera over for you so you can see. Up, down. There we go. So we're right sides together, sewing with that 1/4 inch. wait till I'm getting just a couple of stitches from the end of that piece, and then I'll pop the next pair underneath. Oop, picking up more than one. Allow the feed dogs to catch the fabric and pull it through. And then take my final pair and pop those under. And once I've got to the end, I'll drop those off. And again, we'll bring those back across here so you can see. I'll flip these open. And you've got them still attached here and here. So now what I would do is I would take these two pairs and join those right sides together. So I'd flip these over, and we're going to sew same thing, 1/4 of an inch all the way down. What I sometimes like to do, just to stop myself getting confused, is I might just stick a pin in, not to match up the raw edges, but just to make sure that nothing flips around. Take these across to my machine and move the camera. Place these right sides together, matching up the raw edges. Oh, sorry, wrong button. Going needle down. So I've sewn those first two pairs together, and then I'll come to this next section here. Place these right sides together. And then we'll do the final pair. Right sides together, matching up your raw edges. Okay. So then we'll bring them over, then open it out. Can't remember which way up it was. This, there we go. So then you've got all of your rows all joined together, but your rows are also joined together. They're sort of all still attached. But what that means is that when you come to do all of your piecing, it just keeps everything in the right order. And look, you've hardly wasted any thread with these little bits in between. And what you can do from this point onwards, if this was everything that you were piecing, oh, let me just see if we can get that whole piece. If this was your completed quilt top, what I would tend to do is I would just go through and snip all of these pieces here, and then I would do row 1, I would press all my seams going in this way, row 2 I would press my seams going this way, and row 3 going the other way. So the alternate rows I would press in alternate directions, which means that you can then nest your seams. But that's basically chain piecing. Chain piecing is sewing 2 pieces of fabric together and then joining another 2 after that. And like I say, the chain piecing just allows you to sew together your pieces of fabric in a quicker way without doing that repeated process, and it allows you to stop wasting thread as well, which is really handy. So if you've got any questions about chain piecing or the method that I've used in order to put those together, leave me a comment and let me know. If not, I will see you on the next video. Bye.